Recently, Screen Rant published a theory about Neo possibly being the new villain in Matrix 4. A theory explaining how the machines still control Mr. Anderson. So today we're going to be looking over this theory and see how plausible it could be. Welcome to Matrix Explained.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
This theory was written by good old Craig Elvey for the website Screen Rant. And I quote, "Audiences are so accustomed to seeing Reeves as the Matrix's noble savior. To turn him bad would be wonderfully subversive. Obviously, Neo won't suddenly decide that the machines were right after all, and humanity deserves to be destroyed, but he might become a villain if an outside force is pulling the strings. An outside force, such as machine leader Deus Ex Machina perhaps?" After the original Matrix trilogy concluded, the story was continued in video game form by The Matrix Online, which at the time was presented as franchise canon. Naturally, The Matrix 4 isn't obliged to keep that promise, although the absence of Lawrence Fishburne certainly suggests it might. But The Matrix Online does tease a potentially dark future for Neo. One of the game's best storylines sees Morpheus fighting to retrieve Neo's body from Machine City, but his shiny former foes are staunchly refusing to cooperate. Morpheus ultimately dies for this cause, which proves getting Neo's body back was about more than just respecting a friend, and the machine's reason for keeping Neo wasn't just to watch Morpheus get riled up. The Matrix 4 can borrow some of these ideas. Neo's physical vessel was last seen being carried away in Machine City. Trinity's was there also, curiously enough. So even without taking game canon into consideration, there's a question mark over what happened to Neo next. Keeping Neo's corpse to hand, or indeed to tentacle, could even be how the machines rewrite their one program for the new, liberated Matrix. The machines might use Neo's body as a conduit for an updated one code written with an entirely different purpose in mind. There are two reasons the Matrix's robots might seek to do this. Firstly, Neo's powers transcended the Matrix and bled into the real world by the trilogy's end, making his corpse a rather valuable commodity. Secondly, the inevitable exodus from the Matrix would prevent the machines from simply picking another human candidate to carry the once code, forcing the villains to recycle Keanu Reeves instead. Though it's impossible to rule out the machines reviving Neo's body, why would they go to such lengths? In the original trilogy, plugged-in folk were the majority, and red pills like Morpheus and Trinity were few and far between. Neo's function was to support the latter, but the balance could shift due to Neo's sacrifice, making freed humans the norm and blue pills the minority. In this scenario, Neo's one code might automatically begin to represent the subversion of those who want back into the Matrix, rather than his usual role of aiding those who wish to escape. Essentially, he'd turn into an agent for the machines, not Zion." End quote. This theory proposes several interesting ideas, such as the machines taking Neo's body to recycle and reprogram it. This is an idea that we have already discussed in our videos. It's a sound answer to how Thomas Anderson is back in the simulation. As for The Matrix Online, no news or rumors have yet emerged, ruling out the possibility that the movie is a sequel to the video game. So Neo will continue to be a puppet of the machines, waiting to be used. Waiting for the appropriate moment to activate the anomaly as a contingency plan is a logical path that the machines would take. Turning Neo into an agent of the simulation would work accordingly to the Matrix equation. After all, it has worked before. The equation tries to balance itself, rather by creating anomalies or by integrating said anomalies into the system. It could be assumed that the source is self-aware and acts accordingly to its needs. So the transformation of Neo into an agent of the Matrix is possible. In previous videos, we've talked about Keanu Reeves being seen in public with his head shaved after he wrapped up filming Matrix 4. These photographs opened up the possibility that the machines did save Neo's body, reattached him into a pod, and will eventually escape again from the Matrix. So far as we know, The Matrix cycle works as such. It spans every 100 years. It reaches its conclusion after the manifestation of the integral anomaly. However, there are some details that we don't know, like if the integral anomaly must always be carried by a human or the same human. Is Neo a clone of the previous ones, or is his body repaired and reused? Is Thomas Anderson the same flesh and bone body in each cycle? Screen Rant's theory concludes by stating that Neo could be strong enough to break free from the machine's programming. Here we disagree, because in the previous trilogy, there wasn't a moment in which Neo did not follow the Oracle's plan. Even in his sacrifice, everything happened according to what the Mother of the Matrix wanted. Neo broke the Matrix cycle, and he did it with the help of the fortune teller. If Neo manages to break the strings that control him, he will realize that there is no true escape, that it wouldn't matter if he was a savior or a mere human. His entire life will be controlled until death, maybe even after that. We do believe that some elements from this theory could occur, but the plot needs to show us Neo once again as a savior and not an agent for the character to reconnect with the audience. We need the original Neo who is willing to break the simulation. Before we go, we have a brief update on a rumor regarding the Matrix 4 trailer. According to various sources, there are at least 2 versions of the Matrix 4 trailer currently being screen tested. So far, the people who claim to have seen the trailer say that it has some shocking scenes from the film, but they do not explain much of the plot. The trailer does a better job of sowing doubts about what the movie could be about. Based on the marketing strategy of another Warner Brothers film, Dune, we should be getting a teaser trailer this August with the unveiling of its official title, which is rumored to be Resurrection, continuing the tradition of using subtitles beginning with the letters RE, Reloaded, and Revolutions, with the full trailer to be released by September. If the marketing does not begin in August, then a delay is nearly certain. But do you agree? What do you think about Screen Rant's theory? For Matrix Explained, please leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.